Love it. Don't feel guilty about it either. I'll shoot 22 all day long.
Steel's had better days, man. It's all messed up.
I think we're hitting it. Love this stock. 1022 Archangel. What's up, YouTube? No More Up For coming at you with another gun review video. Do apologize, I've been kind of out of commission for a couple weeks here. Just been real busy with some of my own personal stuff. Been trying to get some material for different videos for you guys together. Also been doing some competitions, USPSA, a little bit of NRA, steel silhouette competition, stuff like that. Try to get videos incorporating most of that stuff out to you pretty soon. But the most recent thing I just finished here was a review of Ruger's 1022. And just as soon as I kill this fly that's down here in my bunker, I'm going to get right back to you. Try to fight me on my home turf. You're going down. I do apologize for that brief interruption, but getting back to point here, going to be reviewing Ruger's 22 long rifle. It is obviously the Ruger 1022, famous gun. Ruger's sold, I don't even know how many, got to be tens of millions of these things. There's got to be millions of these things sold every year, and there's a lot of reasons for it. Obviously a great gun, a great choice for someone learning to shoot guns. Obviously we'll go over, you know, good fits for application as we get to that point in the video. As usual, I'm going to break it down into a couple different sections. I'm going to talk about specs for you first. I'm going to go into some aftermarket parts. I'm going to show you the zeroing in, what I came up with ammunition wise. Just talk about some general applications for what the gun can be used for, and just some of my own general talking points. So let's get into it here. So getting into the specs, again, Ruger 1022. This is the Carbine model. The model number is 1151. It retails, you can find it for about $200 depending on which part of the country you live in, maybe a little bit higher or lower. I got mine for about 208 bucks is what my my notes said. I got this for 208. It is an 18.5 inch barrel. The stock that comes with it it's a polymer, so it's a synthetic stock. Obviously I do have a different stock on it as seen in my Archangel stock installation video. But the gun with the stock that it comes with weighs 5 pounds. The actual stock itself weighs about 1.5 pounds, maybe 2 pounds. It was kind of difficult for me to tell, but the added stock here we'll get into a little bit when we talk about the aftermarket parts. Getting back to the gun itself, it is a 1/16 right hand twist with a 6-groove barrel, again 18.5 inches. You can get all sorts of aftermarket barrels and things like that for this, but we're just going to talk about what we have in stock. Trigger is, you know, it's nothing fancy here. Obviously, again, a lot of different aftermarket parts that you can get trigger wise, just like everything else for this gun. Gun is safe. I'll just hold the bolt back for you there. As far as specs go, that's really it. So getting to speaking on the stock, one of the main reasons that I wanted to put this stock on my 22, you know, a lot of guys are going to say, hey, you know, this is a 22, what do you need that kind of stock on there for? Yeah, it looks cool, but that really wasn't my main motivation to do that. 22 is inexpensive to shoot, and it's great fun to shoot. It's good for teaching a new shooter how to shoot. it's just an all-around good round. You know, it's not, it shouldn't be your first choice for self-defense round, obviously, but the cartridge has a lot of benefits. And you know, there are some more expensive rounds out there, obviously, to shoot than 22, such as a little guy like this. This is a 5.56 or 2.23 round. You know, that can be very expensive to shoot. So what I wanted to do was I wanted to model the system I have for my AR so that I can train using 22 with a similar setup. So what I did was I found the best stock I could, mimicking my AR setup that I run in competitions and that I would also use, you know, in a situation without rule of law, something like that, where I had to defend my family, my property, things like that. This is my AR setup as I have it here. So what I did was I found a stock that incorporated a lot of the same features as my AR-15. This is a Ruger 5.56. You know, I don't get paid to do anything from Ruger or anything like that. I just really like the 5.56, and the 22 was really a good choice for me, and I'll go over price points in relation to some other AR style variants of the 22. Is why didn't I just buy an AR style 22? I'll go over that for you in a second. But what I have here is, you know, feel wise almost an exact copy of what I have on the 22. The optic that I run on my AR, obviously I have a front and rear sight in case my scope goes down, but I have a fixed 4-power ACOG scope with a red dot on top. So I wanted to mimic that with my 22 system because I want to train most of the time shooting with this. Obviously, you're still going to have to shoot with the 5.56, but for drills such as running guns and things like that, which I've been working on for some of my carbine, patrol carbine courses that I run in local clubs, you know, it's very beneficial to be able to practice, you know, just the muscle memory, the mechanics of how to hold the gun when I'm moving through a stage, things like that. Really beneficial to be able to shoot a cheaper round. I can go through boxes of 22 and spend less than 20 bucks. You know, I can get a box of 50 for 20 bucks approximately for shooting this gun. You know, for $20 I can get 300 rounds of 22, and that's CCI mini mags, and have some change left over. So, you know, definitely a good benefit, and I'm actually going to do a video here soon on why everyone should own a 22. That's going to be one of the main reasons. But anyway, back to the setup that I have here. Fixed 4-power scope, 32mm objective lens. Same thing here, fixed 4-power scope. I do have a red dot that goes on top of this. I've just had it off. I was trying to zero it, and was having an issue with the housing here, but I'm going to do a separate review of that. Also, a lot cheaper of a scope than a Trijicon. Obviously, I'm not going to put an ACOG on top of a 22. It's just an extreme waste of money. This Trijicon has a drop compensator for the .223 caliber cartridge out to 600 meters. You know, obviously a 22's, you know, the range capability they have with a 22 is nowhere close to that of the .223 or the 5.56 round. But for training purposes, this is a great tool to have. So I just briefly touched on their, you know, different options that you can get for an AR style 22, and why I didn't go for any one of the popular brands such as the SIG 522, the M&P 1522, obviously Ruger's SR22, you know, even Mossberg has a 22 AR style. The reason that I wanted to go with the 1022 and just convert it into an AR style 22 rifle is because of the options available to me out there in the aftermarket world. Anything you can possibly imagine is available out there. You can get different magazines, you can get different barrels, you can get different triggers, different bolt assemblies, mag releases, firing pins, extractors, hammers, trigger guards. You know, you can swap everything out. One of the big things, like I just mentioned, is the magazine, obviously. You know, the 1022 has been around so long, there's just so many aftermarket parts available for it, so you can customize it to how you want. Another issue that I had just kind of mentioned was the magazines. Because the Ruger's been around for so long and it's been such a popular gun, there are many different aftermarket magazines for the gun. And that's not going to be the case with 99% of the other AR style 22s out there, because they've only come out in the last, you know, maybe 5 or 10 years. They're all going to have proprietary magazine designs, meaning you can only use magazines designed specifically for that gun. If I don't like how the rotary 10-round magazine works, or I want to load more than that, I can get a Butler Creek 25-round magazine. If the Butler Creek doesn't feed good for me, I can get the magazine that Ruger just came out with for the 1022. It's the Ruger BX25. I'm going to talk a little bit more about those in a second here, but there's just so many different options available to you if you go with a 1022 over a, you know, an AR style 22. Just because of the fact that the 1022 has been out and in production for so long and is such a popular gun. You're really not going to see a lot of different aftermarket parts for these newer 22 style rifles that are coming out, because there just simply aren't enough in circulation for it to make sense to a company to manufacture aftermarket parts for them in the quantities or varieties that are available for the 1022. Next thing in regard to why I chose the 1022 over top of just, you know, buying an AR style 22 was the price. This total package that you see here is about $455. Now what I have on here, or what I have in this total package that I'm including, is the gun, which I got for about $208. I got a Volquartsen bolt release, so that I can just pull back on the bolt and it'll release. I don't have to use the little pin down there. The stock is about $120, and the scope that I got is about $117. Now this scope is an NC Star. It's called the Mod 4X. I got this from Valhalla Armory. It comes with a red dot on top. I'm going to do a separate review of this. I'll probably have that out pretty soon for you here. But what that did for me basically was give me, as I just showed, you know, basically the same optic package as my AR has. But I've got a completed setup here for $455. And that came with, obviously, the 10-round magazine. So we'll include that. Now, yes, some of those other AR tactical rifles out there for the 22, they do come with a 25 or 26-round magazine. But I'm going to show you the cost breakdown here right now. Again, this was $455 with everything you see in front of you. Again, with a red dot on top of this, an adjustment to the bolt release, which a lot of the other guns will not have. For example, in comparison just to the gun only, the SIG 522, you can find that between $450 to $500 is what I've seen it online, probably a little bit more expensive in the stores. The M&P 1522 is between $425 and $500. Ruger's SR22 is between $450 to $550, as I saw it online. You know, and I've got a completed setup for $450. That's after tax and shipping, and for everything that I did, all the work on this gun, I did it myself. If you try to add a scope on, buy some different magazines, you're going to be well up into the high 500s, maybe even into the 600s to get a complete setup as I have here. So that's why, one of the reasons that I went with going with the 1022 over one of those newer models. You know, there's also a lot of reliability issues with some of those guns. And again, when they use proprietary magazines, a lot of those issues are going to be derived in the magazine, because that's one of the most important parts of the gun. The only gun that really comes in a lot cheaper is the Mossberg 22 AR style rifle. That I saw for around $200, but from what I've read, that gun is not very reliable at all, and it's given a lot of people a lot of heartache just because they thought they got a deal, and to say the least, they didn't. So it's something for you guys to consider when looking at the different AR style 22s out there. Okay, so the next thing I wanted to show you here, gonna roll out and show you some footage of when I was actually at the range and the accuracy results I got with this 1022 with this mod 4X scope by NC Star that I had mounted on it. Gonna show you some different results I got with a couple different ammo loads. I zeroed it at 50 yards. Okay, so we're at the range, going to be zeroing this new scope I just put on my 1022 with the Archangel stock. This is an NC Star MOD 4X scope. It's a fixed 4X magnification with a 32 millimeter objective lens, and it has a red dot mounted on top here. Now we're going to be zeroing it here first. I'm going to try to get on paper at 50, and then we're going to go a little bit farther, possibly, and shoot at 100 and see what it does. If I like the groups that far with the scope and the gun, I may zero it at 100. I want to zero the red dot at 25, but I don't know if it's going to be possible today because I have to go to the next range to do that. I just sat down on the 50 and 100 yard range right now, so I'm going to get into zeroing the scope here. Let me show you the setup that I have. Not an exact science. I just have this little Caldwell lead sled. Not one of the more expensive versions, so I'm not even going to be using this back part. Basically, the gun is just going to be resting on here as a point of reference, and I'll be holding the gun here. So for now, this is what we're working with. I've got my spotting scope set up here, and this first mound is where we're going to be shooting at first. That's 50 yards. We have 100, and then we have 200. So let's get into it here. First is going to be 50 yards. Again, I'm just going to be trying to get on paper, and then from that point in time, may look at shooting at 100. We'll see how it goes. So I finally got on paper here, and now I'm going to make some. Well, I already did make some fine-tuning adjustments here with the 4-power scope. Now I'm going to shoot a couple different types of ammo and see which gives me the best group here. I've got regular CCI for AR type 22s, and then federal bulk. So we're going to see which we get the best groups from. Kind of surprising, but from what it looks like, the regular CCI ammo is shooting better than the CCI AR tactical ammo. Not what I expected, but that CCI regular actually is a little bit hotter than the AR tactical. I was looking at the info on the back of the box, so just to give you an idea of the conditions we're shooting in. I usually just do this for my own record keeping. So that's what we're working with. I'm going to shoot one more with the AR Tactical and the Federal sucked. And then I'll shoot the center target with CCI again and see how that goes. Okay, so you saw me there doing some zeroing work at the range. Again, 50 yards. So what I came up with here, my best group at 50 was about 0.875 inches. Pretty damn good for a 4-power scope. You saw the rest that I have. Not by any means the sturdiest setup, but I make it work. You know, with my AR, it's a chrome lined barrel. You know, I can shoot MOA at 100 yards in that rest, so I really don't think I need anything too much more elaborate than that. You know, obviously I could probably get a little bit smaller group if it was really buckled down in there, you know, in one of those rests designed specifically for an AR style rifle, but you know, that's a great group in my opinion. Basically what I do for the zeroing, when I get a new scope, I'll get a larger target, just one crosshair, and I'll zero it in until I can get a group on the center of the bullseye. From there, what I'll do is I'll put one of these targets up and I'll shoot a couple different types of ammo. So what I did for this test was I used CCI Mini Mag, you know, $7 for 100 rounds at your local store. I used the CCI AR Tactical, you know, those usually come in a package like $375, I think it is. You can get that for like 20 bucks. And then I also bought a package of Federal bulk. You know, I shot this group first, and then I went on to shoot these ones here, and then I finally shot, after looking at what was best, I shot it with the CCI Mini Mag again here. To be honest, you know, these groups here, this one in particular, probably could have been a little bit better. Some of it is obviously user related because I don't have a very sturdy bench rest. I usually just use the front of the bench rest for the fore end of the rifle, and then I'm holding the grip and the trigger just freehand or offhand basically. But you can see here I shot a pretty nice group. Sub 1 inch at 50 yards with the 22 is fine for me. Did have a little bit of wind. This information I keep up here is mainly just for my own record keeping. Let me see if I can zoom in on the group here for you, just to give you an idea what exactly it shot. Those little squares are 1 inch each, so pretty good groups. I was fairly impressed with the accuracy, and again, you know, this isn't for self-defense or anything like that. Maybe in a survival situation a 22 would be, but you know, I'm pretty confident shooting those CCI Mini Mags that I'm gonna hit my mark, and I'm very happy with the group overall. I didn't shoot it to zero at 100 yards. I may do that a little bit later. Because I do have that red dot sight, I may zero that at 25 yards and then have the scope itself zeroed at 100. A lot of ammo will say, I don't think it was this, I think the Federal bulk ammo said that if you zero the target at 50 yards, and you know, there's so many factors going into this, but they said if you zero it at 50 yards with a scope 1.5 inches above the bore line, at 100 yards you can expect 6 inches in drop. It's just a reference point. You know, if I shoot this particular gun without re-zeroing it at my next NRA steel silhouette match in the small bore category, basically what I'll do is I'll just hold it over, you know, the Rams. I think the Rams are the 100-yard targets. I may just aim high on those, but you know, the bottom line is that you have to really test out the ammunition at the different ranges, because what the manufacturer says is usually under such strict or specific conditions, I should say, that it's really not going to have a lot of application outside. You know, differences in pressure. Again, I kind of just keep that information for my own tracking, and just to try to see, you know, if different pressure and temperatures and wind obviously has different effects on the different rounds. But you know, you're going to see a lot of variance in that sort of stuff with anything that you shoot. You know, people that shoot competitions, they have their rifle zeroed over in Ohio, then they go shoot at a different elevation, different pressure in Arizona, and their 1/4 inch group at 100 yards goes to shit, because the different elevation, just the different outside elements, has a big effect on that. So just be cautious of what ammunition tells you. The best way to be sure is to test it yourself and keep track of it. If you keep a log of, you know, targets like this, or even just a little book if you're real intense about it, just keep track of what you shoot, and it'll give you a better idea. You can go back and reference it later. You know, if you're on the fly here and you need to make a shot, you know, the knowledge that you have from keeping track of your shooting like this will pay dividends down the road. While we're on the subject of ammunition, again, the CCI Mini Mags were the best ammunition that I found in the gun. And that's not just for Accuracy purposes, it's also for reliability. I'm going to talk about that here in a second. Let's get myself a drink. But I was kind of surprised because I got the 10 round magazine obviously with the gun, and I said, well, I need to get me a Butler Creek because I've heard such good things about those. And I'll tell you what, I was very disappointed. I had a lot of failure to feeds and double feeds with this magazine. I think perhaps it's just the magazine that I got. I don't know what kind of tolerances their manufacturing uses, but I was having issues getting the magazine fully seated up into the rifle. That's a lot of wiggle right there, and that's going to cause serious loading issues whenever the gun ejects around and loads the next one, because if you bump the mag when you're shooting, the bolt goes back to cycle the next round. If the magazine has been moved from its proper positioning seating, which is basically just take the mag and try to push it up in that direction, you know, if it's moved from that position, the bolt is not going to catch the rim of the round very well, and you're going to have a double feed or it's going to jam. One of the things I noticed is, now these are all copper nosed, so they had the least amount of this happening with the Butler Creek mag, but what I noticed happening with the lead nosed Federal was that when the bolt would slide forward, the soft lead nose of the round, if the magazine wasn't seated properly, would slam into, let's see if I can show you here, would slam into the little feed ramp part, and it would not, the soft lead basically just bent right there before it made it to the barrel, and it would just dent the actual lead casing. That's, you know, when you're shooting 22, it's kind of expected. But I was just disappointed with the Butler Creek. Maybe I just got a bad one, I'm not sure. But I just recently got Ruger's new BX25 magazine, and I've got to say this one performed a lot better. I loaded full magazines into this gun and I just was ripping it. You know, I have yet to have a malfunction or a failure to, any sort of failure to load, failure to fire, failure to eject, anything like that with the BX25. The same can be said obviously for the 10 round rotary magazine, but obviously you should expect that, being that Ruger made both of these. So price on this is about $20 is what I got it for. I think I got it for like $17. It was on sale. Thegunsource.com's a site that I like. I may be considering adding that one to my list of approved gear sites. The Butler Creek mag is also around that price point. Again, going back to the other AR style 22 options out there, that's what you're going to expect to pay for any of the magazines, be them proprietary or not. I looked up the prices for the SIG and the M&P 1522 and all those different variants, and they were all about $20 a mag. So here again, just wanted to kind of give you a little bit of a farther out view of what the Archangel 1022 stock looks like on the gun, and just the overall finished product. The gun is safe. One thing I think I did forget to mention, and this kind of goes more towards the stock itself, but this is it's not a mil-spec stock, it's the commercial stock, so you can put, you know, if I wanted to put like a Magpul MOE stock on here, I would just get the commercial version. Again, that's more for the review of the stock itself. But you can see, excellent gun here, really sharp, I think, with the Archangel 5.56 stock on there. Couldn't be more happy with that. It's pretty badass in my opinion. And again, you know, there's probably a lot of people out there that's gonna say, why the hell would you spend $120 on the stock? But again, you know, for training purposes, this is almost an exact copy, at least feel-wise, as my AR. You know, obviously the different things like the bolt carrier are going to be a little bit different, the magazine release, you know, that's all going to be different. But the weight of the gun, you know, obviously the 22 is lighter than my AR. This is a piston gun. You know, obviously the weight is not the same, but with all the different parts that I put on my 22, the weight is a lot more comparable than the gun was when it was just 5 pounds with a synthetic stock with no sight. So for training purposes, you know, the 22 feels very similar to having an AR. One of the other things I wanted to mention, and I'll just talk about that briefly here, was in the video that I did talking about the installation of the scope base adapter on the 22, I said not to use Loctite, and I found actually through some different research on forums and things like that, the manual, a lot of people disagree with what the manual says, and they say that you should use the Loctite. You know, for whatever reason, even though it's a 10/22, after repeated shooting that will loosen up. And I experienced that, but you know, like you can see here, I put this different stock on, and the reason I didn't go with a stock such as the Tapco stock, where it's just the base here and the top of the barrel and the bit of the receiver still exposed. The reason I didn't go with that one, again, going back to the AR, I wanted to mimic my AR as much as I possibly could. I just didn't like that, and also because I wanted to mount an optic on top of the gun similar to what I have on my AR, I wanted something that was really sturdy, and this stock screws right into the receiver with a lot bigger screws than the scope base adapter does. So what that does is, and then you're connecting it obviously to the bottom portion, the different receiver here with the connection where the handle and the lower part of the stock go, you have a lot sturdier of a gun, you know, free floating barrel. Gives you a lot better accuracy, and this sure as hell isn't gonna shake off zero from 22 when you've got such a complete stock setup as you do in the Archangel setup. So one of the things I thought was important there, just a little bit of correction, I like to give it to you straight, and I felt a little bad about saying that the scope base adapter didn't need Loctite, because after some testing I found that it did. But just wanted to give you that heads up. All in all, this is a great gun, guys. I really love the Ruger 10/22. It's, you know, I wish I would have got one sooner, because I could have saved a lot of money training with my, you know, not having to shoot the 223 as much as I do, as much as I can, I should say, with just the regular 22 long rifle. So this is a great gun, going to be in my collection for hopefully a lot of years. If you have any questions, PM me, comments, subscriptions, I appreciate them. As usual, guys, this is No More Op 4 coming at you with another gear review. Again, you know, Ruger 10/22, excellent choice for anyone out there looking for a 22 long rifle. Gonna see some more videos on this. I'm gonna do some running guns, and also maybe a little thing about putting a video out there just about why everyone should have a 22 in general. So keep posted, guys. Keep an eye out for any other videos I'm going to be putting up. This is No More Op 4. Stay safe. I'm out.